Hi General Psych class. This video is going to tell you about the stuff that we would have talked about if I'd been in class today and discussing the videos that you did see in class. One of the videos that you saw in class was on the tip of the tongue phenomenon, which is something that's also discussed in your book. And that tip of the tongue phenomenon is a retrieval failure. So you have successfully stored the information in your memory. The problem is you just can't figure out where it is so that you can retrieve it. One way to help with this would be priming or using a retrieval cue. Those could potentially help get rid of the tip of the tongue phenomenon. And as the video discussed in class, it is not good to sit there and struggle if you get into the tip of the tongue phenomenon while you are studying. Look at the answer, you're less likely to get in the tip of the tongue state again. This also goes to that state dependent learning we talked about. The other video that you saw connects to Elizabeth Leftis. She's also the person that was part of the TED video if you chose to do the assignment for this chapter. And what she is very well known for is her research on the misinformation effect. The misinformation effect is when a memory has been corrupted by misleading information. So, famous studies she has done have been things like she had people review ads connected to Disney World, and there was a Bugs Bunny on the top of the ad, and then when they go to talk about their memories from Disney World, they remember meeting Bugs, which of course isn't possible since he's a Warner Brothers character. She's had people remember getting lost in a mall, which is something that didn't actually happen to them, by inserting fake stories into diary entries. Her famous study is with a car crash, and depending on how she phrased questions about it, people gave different answers, remembered it differently on how fast the car was going and whether or not there was broken glass at the scene. So her big thing, misinformation effect, and she also connects that to eyewitness testimony. It's very easy to change somebody's memory of events. So those are the two YouTube videos you saw in class, and those will be also on our page. A couple other things you should know. One connects with this image. Which of these is the real penny? Now, you would assume this would be very easy for you. Everyone here has seen a penny before, but it's actually very difficult. Most people get it wrong. By the way, the answer is A. And the reason we get this wrong is because of encoding failure. So, encoding failure is when you fail to process information into memory. So this is different than the tip of the tongue phenomenon, which is a retrieval failure. This, you can't remember what a penny looks like because you never put it into your memory in the first place. So encoding failure is a problem at the very beginning of the process. It never goes from your sensory memory into your short-term then long-term memory. You just never think it's important enough to put it there in the first place. This also connects to eyewitness testimony because if you didn't realize that this was something that you were going to have to remember, you don't pay attention to those little details like what color someone's hair was, what shirt they were wearing, that sort of a thing. Also connected to problems with memory are memory trace and the forgetting curve, as well as proactive and retroactive interference. So those are the last four definitions I'm going to talk about. So the memory trace connects with the brain fingerprinting. The memory trace is a lasting physical change in your brain as memory forms. So your brain physically changes when a memory is formed. Now, if you aren't trying to store something into memory, if you're not working hard to get it done, what's going to happen is you're going to forget. And most forgetting occurs at the very beginning. If you remember something for more than 90 minutes, chances are it's going to be there a little longer. So that is connected with the forgetting curve. The forgetting curve says that most forgetting occurs immediately after learning and then tapers off. So it looks a little something like this. This is the forgetting curve. So most information, again, is lost at the very beginning, and then it's going to slowly taper off after that. The person that discovered the forgetting curve, his name is Ebbinghaus. So he does a lot of research with forgetting. Ebbinghaus, forgetting curve. The final two definitions are that retroactive and proactive interference. These also connect with how well you get information out again. So if you have proactive interference, that is when prior learning affects recall of new information. Retroactive is the opposite. It is when new learning is affected because of old information. So I'll put those definitions right here and get rid of the forgetting curve. So proactive interference is when you have a disruptive effect of prior learning on the recall of new information. Retroactive is just the opposite. Retroactive interference is when there is a disruptive effect of new learning on the recall of old information. So, an example of these two things, if prior learning affects the recall of new information, this would be, for example, in my car and my husband's car, the gear shift is in a different location. So I drive my car the vast majority of the time. When I get into his car, or when I got into his car the first time, where am I going to reach for that gear shift? I'm going to reach where it is in my car. I'm going to forget to reach for the correct place in his car. That's proactive interference. My prior learning, this is where I put my hand in order to drive my car, affects remembering where to grab it in his car. This would also be if you wear a watch every day and then you forget to wear it one day. What are you going to end up doing? You're going to keep looking at your wrist all the time because prior learning, you know you wear a watch, affects remembering new information. Today there is no watch, don't look. So that's proactive. Retroactive, again, is just the opposite. So this would be if I drive my husband's car and then I go back to my car and I reach for the wrong place. That's that new information, that new learning, where it is in his car affects the recall of the old information where I always look in my car. Or for example, I learned French in school. That was my minor in college. I tried to learn a little bit of Spanish just a couple years ago. After learning a little bit of Spanish, when I tried to remember a French word, what kept coming to mind? The new Spanish I had learned instead of the long-established French that I've known for over 20 years. That is the new information, the new learning, the Spanish affected my ability to remember the French words. So when old information affects new stuff, it's proactive. You're trying to get the new stuff you can't. Retroactive, you're trying to remember old stuff and you can't because of the new learning. So these are all the definitions now that you did not have in your notes that were on your study guide. This is all that is fair game on the test connected to the memory chapter, and we will definitely go over this in the review for our class. And also you can look at YouTube to see videos connected to the misinformation effect and the tip of the tongue phenomenon as well.